Yeah, it's fun. Good. Cool. So we have a full schedule today of presentations again. And Bill is first. LV Stevens is after Bill's done. And then after lunch, we're going to have Paul Resendes up first with a MorphOS demo. And then Paul Sadlick, Amiga Apps, and finishing out the day with Alex Perez with an Alice demo. So we can all see how that works. So it's great to have you guys here, and we'll start out and get going, and everybody else will come in as they desire. So, Bill Borsari, you are on.
Thank you, Brian. So, what I wanted to do is start with a shout out to a very special person. Many of us know her. Where is that thing? How did I save it here? Uh-oh. The machine's offline. It's the games competition run by, people know her as Cami, the Ami Gam Jam. And what it is a games competition that she runs every year with different categories. You can see the logo right here. And she sponsors it and works to get people with prizes for the folks that contribute. It's really a lot of work, and it's a great time. It focuses people to make games for the Amiga. And so there's a number of games this year that have been submitted, and I have some of the winners for us that I'll be playing as part of this. So I'm using the eGame tool by Chris Handley again. It's great because you can tag stuff. So I actually have, starting in 2014, all the games that I showed. This is the 2014 list. Here's the 2015 list. Here's the 2016 list, 2017 list. It's really handy because then I can remember what I did in the past. And I created a special list for the game competition games. And there's mostly the games are for classic, but there's one OS4 entrant, or at least there's an OS4 category, and we have the game for that as well. I'm going to start with one of the more impressive ones in my mind. And all the games are great, and really thank all the people who worked on this. This one was by Johnny Aveccado. Sorry if I get your name wrong. And Sebastian, I can't pronounce that, Abreu, with help from Danny Hermans and Wayne Ashforth. So what they did, and I don't know what the history of this sucker is. I really don't. It's a UAE game, so eGame can automatically launch in WinUAE. You can hear the floppy going. It's The Last Starfighter, the movie. And so the first disc is the intro, and the second disc is the game. Unfortunately, I can't get the game to run, but the intro is fantastic, so I thought I would share that first with us this morning. I set it for exact compatibility, trying to get it to work, so the floppy's actual speed. It is a very interesting intro, so it is taking a while to load. So I'm going to go ahead and just click through. Fire button through. Can you turn the music a little, Robert? In the room? Hey, Robert, can you turn the volume up on the speakers a little? The black ones. Yeah, those guys. it kind of took me back to the original game. Take my mic down to the hair. Number 2 down. So it's, I just thought it was a really impressive intro for a game. Like I said, it doesn't run under WinUAE, or sorry, EUAE. It was fun to share. So the next one I'm going to play is a game called Easter Egg, which is a cute little game that was also part of the games competition. So I'm using the run-in UAE tools to run the ADF file, basically. So it's got a nice little intro, so we'll press start. If you have the Competition Pro, it's got a mode for auto-fire, and that doesn't work well on this, because you have to press and hold the button to jump. So if it's pressing it a bunch of times, you just do little hops. So I figured that out for y'all. But you can see you're a little ducky. And the sound is pretty good. You're collecting eggs. You gotta watch out for the worm. And then you can jump up. Oops, you gotta go to the box over here. I don't know if you can kill the worm. I haven't tried that. But you can go to this ladder because, you know, ducks can crawl ladders. And then there's a killer plant that tries to eat you. So it's really a very accurate simulation for a duck. And then you jump through the little door. But again, this was put together in a couple of weeks, or a couple of months by dedicated Amiga programmers to make a game. Statistically, it looks like we're getting a lot more games for the classic side of things, but luckily with run-in UAE, it makes it very easy to start and play on your X5000, which hopefully everyone has an X5000 by now. So really simple gameplay, really simple game, but surprisingly fun. Reminds me of an old Commodore game called Bugaboo. I don't know if anyone recalls that one. I don't think I'm gonna make it. Oh yeah! Uh-oh. Luckily I'm a duck and I can fly. Okay. Let's see. I always forget the keys to jump out of UAE. So next is another funny one called Lumberjack. I think that was in the game competition. Might not have been. Actually, I don't know if Lumberjack was in the game competition. I might have mistagged that, so my apologies. Getting ahead of myself here. So this was a port of from the Commodore 64 era. And they actually produced a CD version, which I have with me, it's just not over here. That is for CD-TV and CD32. And it's a really simple game where you're basically trying to chop down a tree and not get hit by the branches as they fall. Loading Lumberjack. Let's see. I don't know how to switch sides. Oh, I died. Oh, I died. Anybody recognize the music? Yeah. Oh, is there? I didn't get that far. The controls are very strange. It's easier if I switch my hands on the keyboard. So I press the left button with my left hand because they're kind of inverted. Ah! Wrong button. I didn't know about the other stuff. It's really much more of a test of your ability to press the right button than anything else. Did you guys see that bicycle where they inverted the handlebars? So when you turn left, the wheel would go right? Lots of people fell over. Now I want to get some, I want to get a bra. Ah. Ah. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna stop playing shortly. Ah, okay. Anyway, that's enough of that. It's a fun one. So getting back to the game competition, like I said, I tagged that one wrong. This was one that won. This is called Little Bruce. Sorry, it's called Brus Lee, B-R-U-S space L-I-I, and it also has a great backstory. So this was coded by Robert Moretta, graphics by JoJo73, in-game background graphics by Tony Galvez, music by Fernando Cabrera and Roberto Morita, and support with Kikums, K-I-K-E-M-S. This is the Amiga Wave team. There's some more detail here. The pixel art was done with D-Paint in 32 colors. By hand, it wasn't ripped or scanned. The music was made with a Pro Tracker with 3 channels. The sound effects were digitized with a DSS-8 Amiga sampler. So, pretty hardcore Amiga game for the competition. So everyone knows this guy, right? So I'll just get in the game real quick and we'll kill some Witcher zombies. The forest is infested with an endless amount of zombies since Lord X often carries out kinds of experiments. Out of control, send his army of exterminators. And they shoot stuff at you. Corrosive acid. So I don't know the inspiration for the game, but it definitely has some cuteness to it. Karprov, the loyal henchman. Okay, Amiga Wave 2016. Mission number 1. Next time I'll turn off the floppy wheel. Okay, there's our main character. And he can walk either direction, you can jump and kick. Can you turn up the audio on the computer? Just a hair? That's good. So it's basically a side-scrolling, jumping kick game. As you kill zombies with a background of bamboo. Occasionally it'll not let you go further because you have to clear a stage. And Bruce's eyes move when he kicks. Oh. cool. You can do combos. So that's a fun one. Next, we're going to get into the OS4 game called Santa Run. So this is written, I believe, in Hollywood from the looks of it. It says it's not quite finished yet. So you're Santa Claus. And what happens is the background is trying to catch you. And if you let it catch you, you die. Sorry, there's a pop-up on the display, so I can't actually see the screen very well. Okay, so you got to keep running, and there's a series of presents to collect. There's no score yet. There's no... can't go backwards at this point. There's a big jump coming up. Aww. Anyway, so really a big shout out to Cami for pulling that off and continuing the effort to do that. It's really great to see new games being produced across the platforms as part of this. So now I'm going to go to the other games that have come out in the last year. There's a real simple one called AmiBird, which is a... can you bring that speaker down a little? It's the left one. It's a Flappy Bird clone. Super simple. It showed up, I think, on AmiNet, and it's as annoying as Flappy Bird. I don't even know what I hit there. So you're welcome to spend endless hours playing that thing. Loads quick, which is nice. On the OS4 side, we've got a Tetris clone. With a nice background, but it is just a nice simple Tetris clone called Nepalia. I should mention that I'm not very good at Tetris. Anyway, so if you're looking to blow some time, you have this one. Just kill that guy. And then what also showed up, interestingly enough, was Portal. Some of you may remember Portal. It made a lot of press when it was released in the early 90s. Remember that eventually went away. Portal is a main press because it's an ultra-violent killing game. Postal. Not Postal. And so now we have it on our Amigos. I think you have to pay for the game files. I might have bought them on Steam and then transferred them over. It uses the area of the arrow keys for the so it's like a Robocop thing. There's a lot further. like, now that I look at it, it's kind of like an update to Cannon Stars, really. It's very similar. With a lot more gore.
One for your mother!
Anyway, that's postal. Commercial game just got ported a little while ago. Runs great. For OS4 systems. Next up, we get into some more interesting ones. This is called Tremulous. It's an interesting game. I think it's going to work for us. It's a network game by design, but we can start a local server and just run around and check things out. Hano port, the guy in France who does a lot of ports. This is just moving around the world. There are servers that you can connect onto, log in and play against other people. If you are the aliens, I highly recommend you evolve yourself. Let's see if I can figure that one out. Okay. So now I'm an alien, and the aliens start off as like these little, there's no mirror, these little creatures, but one of these buttons you press will cause the guy to give up a little, hold on, I'll find it. I was playing online the other day and I hit it, and you can evolve yourself into another type of creature. Oh, C to walk on walls. That's cool. Look, I'm an alien that can walk on walls. And then one of these buttons does the evolve. I thought it was R. No, it's not the escape. Let's run full screen. Notice some graphics in the screen version, so that's why I'm running a window. Man, where is that key? Alright, everyone. Okay. Anyway, somewhere there's a special screen where you can turn these guys into higher level aliens. If you start out as the people, you can do, you start with a machine gun. It's not E, it's not Q. Yeah. Anyway, it's a fun game. There are servers online, so it's a nice first-person shooter. It takes a little while to get used to, but it's pretty fun. So it's a good. The data files are all free. You don't have to pay anything. It's on his website. You can grab it. The other one is Return to Castle Wolfenstein. So this is another port that he made recently. This one is a full-blown, the full game. And to play it, demo mod files, but you need to go online and actually pay for the game. So again, I use Steam, download it, install it. See the loading screen here, and then there's a little arrow in the bottom right. So it's got like in sequence. Hold on one second. Tech support. Okay, doing double duty. So let's see how this goes. So it's a nice first-person shooter game. You start off in some sort of prison. You can hear the torture sounds in the background. That's always fun. You have a little knife. You can stab people with it. I need to remap the keys, but it's using the arrow keys. I usually like mouse. I like strafe as opposed to mouse. You can shoot things. I think there's also a puzzle aspect to the game. So I need to play it a little bit more. I think it's also based on Quake. Oh, there's a dude. I think someone's losing. Okay, he died. That guy's in not good shape. Look, I ran out of bullets. Pokey, pokey, pokey! Did I get him? That does not look fun. Anyway, it's a very, very popular game. I think it's still considered one of the best. What is these? No item to use. So I think I'm supposed to move this. But I don't know the action key. It's not enter. It's not control. There it is. Whoops. Sorry, dude. I really didn't know what I was doing there. Oh, I've narrowed it down to one of 4 keys that does that. Oh, there's a bad guy. Let's go stab him. It's F, by the way. Sorry. Nice. Oh, I got health. I broke the microphone. Oh, I got a machine gun. Let's go find someone with a machine gun. Found it. I'm out of bullets. So the problem is I'm trying to strafe. What the F is wrong with these people? W is not forward, and S is back. Anyway, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, very good game. As I said, it's still regarded as one of the best players. I think it's $9 on Steam. You can download it from Hano PPC's site, install it, runs like a champ, sound works, everything is all good. What else do we have here? Running a little bit short on time. There's also the Jedi Academy games. You saw the demo on Hans's presentation. This is about 2009 vintage, I think it is. It looks super cool. I've got a problem on my system where it crashes. I don't know if other people would have better luck. Again, you can buy it on the Steam and then just transfer the files over to your Amiga and get access to it. So there's been some new games released in the last year. If you go to the typical game sites, you can go to OS4 Depot, you can go to AmiNet, go to the games category, and just want to say thank you to all of the people who have been creating games for the Amiga, and really it's clearly a labor of love. And if you're looking for something to do, check out the AmiJam 2016 game page, and maybe work on a game for 2017 or 2018. Okay. The other thing I'll say is, last year, the machine was crashing all the time because it was still a little bit early in the development cycle. This year, it's rock solid. There's been no crashes. It works very well. So you just have to make sure your sound card is good. It's right sound card, network card's right card. Once you get those things locked down, it runs great. So again, buy an X5000 or just give the money to Trevor directly. He'll just take it. Support the vendors who sell games. It's good stuff. Oh, I forgot about the other one. I don't have the. Oh, and Hermes. Okay, 2 more. Go get it. Go get it. Let's show it real quick. It's on my hard drive. Did you put it on before? Where'd you put it? Do you remember? No, that's someone else's. Which folder though? Well, that was Brian's drive. No, it was mine. Where did you put it? Do you remember? Okay. So I don't have it here. Do you want to go get the little drive and I'll copy it over? Oh. What do you mean? This is that machine. It's on the hard drive on this machine. In this machine. Okay. So we had a shout out for a game. So it's called Hermes, and it's a really silly platformer. Okay, let me take 2 more minutes. Then I'll put the other drive in and we'll show Tower. So this one is hilarious. You are a chef trying to catch a chicken, because that's what chefs do. And you're hungry, so you want to catch him to eat him. Oh, by the way, Competition Pro USB joystick works great. So catch the chicken. Oops. And you eat stuff. And then what happens when you eat stuff? Uh-oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Okay, I'm done. I can eat stuff again. So you toot, and then you gotta keep going. I want the chicken. And if you eat too much, and you don't go to the bathroom, what happens? Bad thing. I'm gonna get you, chicken. Uh-oh, I gotta poo. Keep eating. Oh, I farted. Oh, I pooed my pants. Okay. Okay, it's just silly. Okay. It's like fart joke. Okay. So I had to do some juggling here to get my hard drive back in the system, but let me plug this in. This is Trevor's hard drive, the super secret hard drive with all the good stuff. Source cord to the entire Amiga source trees on there. All of his bank accounts. Okay, so we'll let this boot, and hopefully it works, and we'll show Tower 57. If you don't know Tower 57, it is a Kickstarter game, which I backed. Anyone else back it? 1, 2? Okay. And it is for all platforms, and there was a stretch goal in the Kickstarter. If you got to a certain level, they would make an OS4 version of the game. And so it made that level, and they are committed to doing it. They've shown some screenshots. This might be the second showing of this publicly, the actual playable demo. What's that? Atlanta. Okay. So it's shown a couple of times. So where's that source code directory? Yep. Is that... So this is the NG Amiga port alpha. Is that good? Oh, no, we don't want online. Oh, I did new game. Uh-oh, I'm gonna die. So then you choose your player? So I think it's really inspired by Chaos Engine, but with updated graphics, physics, and a modern sensibility. I'm sure when the full one comes out, you could do full screen and all the rest of it. I'm actually... It's window, okay. Oh my god, that's fast. So I don't know how to actually play much. If you're used to them, they work really well. So obviously there's still some debug. The storyline is pretty interesting too. It's actually very Postal-like. The storyline is pretty good. Oh, do I have to kill all those people or just walk through them? I'm not at shooting yet. You're in my way. Die. Oh. I can go to F. There's that F key again. So the idea is that there's a corporation that's gone out of control that's located in Tower 57. And so you have to... but you can see the graphics are really good. The speed is fantastic. All those moving objects on screen. Who's doing the port for Amiga? Daniel Musner? Daniel Musner? So he's contributing a ton to the Amiga right now. Oh, I see where I need to go in. Oh, I need to find a resident card apparently. So again, this is an early playable demo. I'm sure there's more to it, but it's really exciting to see the progress. I can't shoot. It's not shooting. I don't have a gun. Of course, it's not easy. Oh, select weapon 3. Use tool. Hey, I'm a tool. Ah, we have a gun. Should we go shoot people? Yeah, you can shoot the environment, all blows up. Oh, coins, yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. They come to you. It's so nice of them. As opposed to having to run around and pick them all up. You have some gravity. Uh-oh. Oh, homicidal maniac can't get across the wall. Darn it. Yeah, this is really this is gonna be a great game for the Amiga. I'm really looking forward to the full version. Ah, you gotta interact with the environment, pick stuff up. It's a puzzler as well. It's slimy. Ooh. Oh, there's a dead body. Okay, I think we have the key card. I don't know where the sound is. Maybe the sound's not set up right for this. Ah, there we go. Oh, the green went from red to, the door went from red to green. Do you know if it has sound? Yeah, I don't know where the sound is. Oh, you can? That's a ringing in your head. Okay. So this machine is going to be on the AE on table. If you want to fire up this game and try it some more, it'll be ready to go. So yeah, very much looking forward to playing this. It looks really good. Oh wow, thank you. So full screen on, screen shake. We should have music and sound. I don't know where it is. I don't like the mode I selected. Oh, my multiple candies running. That's not good. Yeah, that was on my side. Okay, we're done with this. Thank you very much.
How's the audio? We good? All right. So my name is LD Stevens. I'm a moderator at Amiga.org, and I'm also a contributing editor to intuitionbase.com, although I haven't really been active the past couple of years. But what I wanted to talk to you all about today a little bit is the market for commercial software on the Amiga. It's my view and the view of a lot of people that one of the ways you can tell the health of a platform is the availability of commercial software, not just public domain software, shareware, freeware, and so forth. And it's certainly not like back in the day where you had hundreds of software houses writing thousands of commercial titles. But things have improved dramatically over the past few years, a lot of which is due to the efforts of Matthew and Trevor at Aon, who have been actively encouraging developers to get commercial software available to the public. They have created an online platform for reselling this and taking care of things like taxes, distribution, update mechanism, and so forth. And we've seen an explosion in commercial software. To date, and what I wanted to show you first this morning, and I apologize for the machine that I'm running on. I'm running on my old Pegasus 2, which is painfully slow and has a faulty processor, so this is probably going to crash a couple times, and it just did. So let's try this again. Talk this amongst yourselves. One of the things that happens when you're used to an X5000 is you don't have to deal with problems like this anymore. This Pegasus board is literally more than a decade old at this point, and it's in real trouble. And it is painfully slow. And it is frustrating because a lot of us are so used to much faster machines. So the only thing I will say to you is if you still have an XE or a PEG or a SAM 440, do whatever you have to do and upgrade to a TAVR or an X5000, whatever you have to do. Rob a bank, sell a limb, a kidney. It's, believe me, it's worth it. That works too. So let's try this one last time, and if this freezes, I won't use Odyssey. We maintain an active list on intuitionbase.com of available software titles for Amiga OS 4. This list consists of both applications as well as games. Everything that is listed here is available for sale right now for a price. It does not list software that is not OS 4 native. It does not list software that hasn't shipped yet. It's literally stuff you can go out right now and buy. You can click a link to find out more information about it by going to the product page, and you can click the buy link, and it will take you somewhere where you can actually purchase the software. This is intuitionbase.com. This is a pretty old site. It's been around for a long time. And while the news section isn't actively updated, the databases are updated whenever we get updates. We keep track of things like dealers for each country that are still active. We remove them when they go inactive, and things like this. So, all right. So, let's have some quick stats. So over the past 4 years or so, the amount of commercial software for OS 4, both in terms of games as well as application software, has more than doubled. We're currently up to a total of 73 titles that are available for pay. There are 38 applications and tools available for pay, as well as some 35 commercial games. This does not count all of the commercial stuff that you can buy that runs on 68K, as well as on OS 4. So this is just stuff that is exclusive to the Amiga 1 platform. And what I'd like to do now is I'd kind of like to walk you all through a few of my personal favorites, some of which you're probably familiar with, some of which you may not be. And the very first one, and the main reason why I stuck with the Amiga throughout thick and thin since I brought on board, is Digital Universe. Digital Universe is an amazing tool written by Bill Eaves, and it is a full stellar simulator that enables you to plot out where stellar objects are in the sky, stars, nebula, gaseous clusters, quasars, galaxies, asteroids, comets. You can move the sky around. You can position it to any time in the past or the future, any position on Earth, any sky view that you like. It's fully scriptable, so that you can create things like animations and so forth. You can even script it up so that you can watch eclipses happen, right, by positioning yourself. And it comes with an incredibly thorough database of stellar objects. So you say, I'm going to click on something over here. Well, let's click on a planet, Mercury, which of course is obscured by the sun right now. And you'll get all sorts of data on how to view it, when it rises, when it doesn't rise. And if you click on more info, you'll find that a lot of these objects have all sorts of data and information. It's almost like an encyclopedia. I use this quite a lot with my children. They enjoy it very much indeed. For me, it's particularly helpful because what I can do is I can go ahead and plot out a plan. So let's say I know that I'm going to be at some park somewhere in Northwest Connecticut on such and such a date. I can go ahead and create reports for objects that I want to view, along with coordinates and times and so forth, and it makes my life a lot easier when I'm out there doing my amateur astronomy. The digital universe is resplendent, and it's fully mooey gooey. It's very easy to use. It has terrific documentation, some really amazing graphics that I haven't shown you all. It's available both on physical CD format as well as a digital download, and it starts at a very modest £17, 50 pence, and is available for sale right now. Let's take a look at some audio stuff. So a lot of the things that have been commercial in the past are now available freely. So the incredible audio evolution is now freeware, so we're not going to take a look at that. But one thing I did want to show you all is this. This is DigiBooster 3.1. And it is modern tracker software. It's fully compatible with DigiBooster 2. So you can load in all of your DVM mods from the old days. It uses a very high quality audio engine, 24-bit audio up to 192 kilohertz in resolution. Let me see if I can find something here to show you all. I'm trying to remember. This is, it's been a long time since I've used this machine. I've been on the 5000 for a while, so I can't quite remember. Yeah. So, do we have audio? Y'all can't hear that? All right, well, anyway, it is MUI based. It has a really terrific sample editor. And an instrument editor. It's fully AREC scriptable, so it's automated. You can even create music, and then the player itself is freely distributable. And it is a little on the pricey side for Amiga software, but if you are a music creator and you don't really want to use older stuff like Acumet Sound Studio, because it hasn't quite been updated yet, but I'm sure Trevor and company are hard at work on that. This is an excellent option for you. It is available starting at 59 euros through our friends in Germany. Yes?
Did I plug that in the right spot?
Where? On the audio?
Yeah.
Should be the green one.
Is that, I can't,
Yes, that is the right one. So if we're not getting it, we're just not getting it.
yeah.
What just happened?
Did it reboot?
Son of a mother.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. We'll try again.
We'll leave it be.
Yeah. So it looks like we're going through another restart cycle.
It's hard to take these things across the country.
Yeah, it really is. I'm not getting any video. There we go. Okay. Guys, I'm really sorry for this. This was not intended. All right, so DigiBooster is available through APC and TCP, the same people who publish Amiga Future magazine. They also have some other software titles available for sale, including Cygnus Ed 5, which is a terrific programmer's text editor, which is used by the inimitable Stephen Soley, along with a lot of the folks who code on the OS. Some of the software that's available has been around since the early days of OS 4, and one of the tools that I use on my X5000, and I probably don't have it fully working over here on the Pegasus, is AmiPhoto. AmiPhoto is very similar to the types of photographic organizers that you'll find on mainstream platforms, and it just crashed. It doesn't crash on a normal machine, guys. You can have all sorts of multiple skins. It's fully skinnable. You can have upwards of 500 albums, a million photographs. It does use both its own internal native viewer as well as the ability to pipe out the image to any external viewer that you might like. It can create web albums, which is pretty cool, at the push of a button. So you can export all this stuff to a directory and then archive it and ship it up to a server, and you have a very nice web-based album. It is available for sale at 20 euros and it's through Alinea Computers, also in Germany. They've got a lot of other things for sale as well, including things like A-Notice 2, which is a great post-it note type solution, and a webcam viewer, and a bunch of other stuff. Some things that you might imagine, we know, for example, that there are certain system components that are available commercially. MUI is available for pay. Of course, we're up to MUI 5 on OS 4. There was just a recent release of that just a couple weeks ago, an update there. The Radeon HD drivers from Aeon, and some of the things that I particularly like are the warp data types from, I'm trying to remember his name. Is it Oliver somebody? Not sure. But anyway, these data types are fully accelerated for the PowerPC. They are faster than the data types that are included with the operating system. You get data types for JPEG images, PNG images, TIFF images, BMP images, the bitmapped images, PCX images, which are pretty old. And you can even open old Photoshop files. It's very configurable. It comes with this lovely preps tool as well, and it does make a significant difference if you're using tools that use image data types. It's available for £15. We have a lot of software where we go from commercial to free, but the reverse is rarely true, and there is a wonderful tool that has made that reverse, which is A-Organizer from Andy Broad. It's a very simple GUI, as you can see, but it packs an awful lot of features. You have the ability to add alarms. You can have very complex repeating events. It's very good with keeping track of your daily appointments and so forth. It's fully scriptable through Python and AREX, and the killer feature, of course, is that this can be synced to Google Calendar and to your phones that use Google tools as well. It also imports iCalc and vCal files, and it is available via AmiStore. And speaking of AmiStore, it might be a good time to pull that up. I think pretty much everyone here uses AmiStore, but in case you've been living under a rock for the past few years, this is the online software distribution client that was created by Matthew Lehman and Aeon Technology. There's quite a few software titles available here, games, tools, quite a few of the ones that I mentioned. Let's log in here and I can show you. Okay, so again on the X5000, this is a lot faster. So here you'll see things like AmiWebView, AmiPhoto, Alinarius, which is a game, A-Notice. All those are from Alinea Computing. Nemo Sound is a tool from Lyle Hazelwood that helps you to control the HD audio on your X1000. There's quite a few games here. Some of this stuff is not available yet. There is the Enhancer Pack, which I'll talk about shortly. MK Share is another tool from Andy Broad, which is a great little tool that lets you share a mouse and a keyboard between different Amigas without having to use a hardware-based KVM. It works really, really well, and it's available for $6.50 here in the US. There is A-Organizer, which I just mentioned. There is Dear Me Up, which is which apparently is not available for sale through AmiStore. You can buy it directly from Glams. This is a really great little file browsing tool. On this machine, I don't have the latest version. It's actually quite back level. But you'll notice that it looks quite a bit like Workbench Explorer from Mark Ritter that was shown yesterday. Like Mark's tool, this is also based around a reaction GUI. You can set up viewers for any types of data files. In the current version, you have the ability to navigate through archives. It has its own internal graphics viewer. You can do almost any file operations in here that you like. So for people like me who don't come from the Amiga platform originally and are much more familiar with things like Windows or OS X or the classic Mac operating system, file browsers like this are a real boon. The current version of Dear Me Up, which is up to 3 point something or another, has its own built-in update engine, so you don't have to manually download updates anymore like you did previously, and it's available for a very reasonable price direct from the author. I should probably show you all some other tools that I use here that are commercially available, such as the editor for Storm C5. Storm C was one of the big integrated development environments for the classic Amiga in its later days. There's been a very big project to bring that back to version 5 to be OS4 native. And the first component of that to be released is this editor. It's not exactly the most feature-rich tool, if I'm honest. But there are some things about it that I really like indeed. So it has really wonderful syntax highlighting, as you can see here. And it's, of course, fully configurable to whatever colors you like. Very simple to set up. It has the ability here to fold certain functions. It's a fully tabbed interface. Of course, you can do find and replace. It's not exactly the most powerful for that. It is extendable. So right now, it supports Amiga Guide files, AREX files, OS catalog files, and C files. And you can set up the syntax highlighting and specifics here on a per file class basis. It is available currently for €30, which is a bit dear, if I'm honest, for a text editor. But if you're used to text editors on mainstream platforms like, I don't know, Pluma or something on Linux from Mate, this is a really nice option. And I actually use it quite a lot for work purposes. Now, of course, the big enchilada of commercial software here on the Amiga is this enhancer software from Aeon. It comes in a variety of editions, and as you can see, this is really, really back level. This is version 1.2. It includes a ton of different utilities, gadgets, classes, tools, you name it. And some of the ones that I particularly like the most have got to be things like multi-viewer and multi-edit. So let's see here. I'll try to open up a few things here to show you in multi-viewer. Let's see. What can I open up here? No, these aren't some good images. You get this lovely little preview here and file list you can add to it and remove to it. It uses the ISS icons. There are options for acceleration for scaling. You can do some rotation. It opens up pretty much anything that you have data types for. It integrates very well with Clip Viewer, and let me show you that. This is a really great little tool. Okay, which is apparently not installed on this machine. But Clip Viewer is a fantastic commodity that I use on my X5000 a lot. And it lets you browse through multiple clipboards so that when you're creating large documents, you can sort of create a scrapbook and have it easy to hand. There is a version of multi-viewer called multi-edit, which is basically if you took multi-viewer and notepad and thrust them together, you'd have multi-edit, which is just another text editor to use. It doesn't have things like syntax highlighting or anything. That's not really the point of it. The point of it is to have a scriptable, more fully featured version of Notepad. And that's one of the things about all these enhancer tools that I find is that they take concepts that already exist on your Amiga and they make them that much better. So, for example, instead of having the old clock, you now have a clock that has anti-aliasing and multiple skins, and it's very configurable. You know, it just makes your Amiga that much better. It includes a calendar utility here, which is also fully skinnable, which we didn't have before. And that replaces some freeware options. It comes with Candy, which I can't show you here, but all the X5000s and Taborns that you see on the floor with those lovely animated backdrops that my children love. It includes that. It includes an updated version of SFS2. It has a time guard commodity for making certain that your clock is always in sync with the network time service, the network time servers. Updated AMI DVD, Warp 3D Nova, the Radeon HD driver, the OpenGLES GLES compatibility layer, extra data types with better features, updated TuneNet, which I don't think I have on this machine. This is an older version. But the nice thing about this, of course, is that it actually has a fully working browser for shoutcast streams, which was broken from a long time ago. It's a lot more stable than the version of TuneNet that existed prior to its acquisition by Aeon. There are 3 editions: a special edition, a standard edition, and a plus edition, depending on whether or not you want Radeon HD and which version of it. But if you don't have a machine that's capable of running a Radeon HD card, the enhancer pack with all that stuff comes in at a very reasonable $25. Okay. There are a ton of commercial games available. One of the things that my children do almost exclusively is take up my X5000 and play games on them. Things like Mace or Swamp Defense 2, and there's a bunch coming, like Tower 57, which was just demonstrated, as well as an updated version of Wings from CinemaWare. That's being done. There are some simple things that have been released, like Emotion. Emotion is for some reason he doesn't want to launch on my Pegasus. Emotion is a video player that works really well. It's based on FFmpeg. It's from Entwickler X. It's something that just works. If you've had to work with MPlayer in the past, you know that you have to fiddle with settings constantly. Emotion just works, this example notwithstanding. And it's particularly good on machines with the Radeon HD cards. For those of you who don't have that, DV Player is still available for sale, and it actually works really well on machines that don't have Radeon HD cards. So these are some videos that my children get to watch all the time, and it decodes them very nicely. It's very stable, as you can see. Yes. All right. Take you back to your Saturday morning cartoons. And because of overlay, even machines that have very little CPU power can play standard resolution videos very nicely with DV Player. That's also available for sale. I had hoped to show you all quite a bit more, but because of the performance of the machine and the fact that a lot of stuff isn't working, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I'm going to have to close here early, I'm very sorry to say. And what I would do here is I would just go ahead and remind you all of the Intuition-based site where you can look up all of this stuff. And get more information on each one of these little tools here. So let's say I was interested in A-Organizer that we talked about briefly. It'll take you directly to the home page with all the information that you're interested in, as well as a link to buy it. So for example, let's say I'm interested in taking a look at that text editor that I showed you, Storm C5 editor. You can get more information, or you can click on this little buy icon, and it actually takes you to the default dealer to purchase it. So it's a very good resource, and I highly recommend you check it out. A little page on Emotion. Yeah. There are some other things also that I could point out, including things like Hollywood Editor, which is Hollywood Designer rather, which is a really terrific tool. And I don't know if I even have it installed on this machine. I don't have it installed on this machine, I don't think. But in addition to using this tool to create actual programs, one of the things that I use it for on my Amiga 5000 is to create presentations at the office. So this is a really great replacement for things like PowerPoint. This is available. You have to buy Hollywood along with it, so it is not cheap. But given all the options for graphics and interactive capabilities and programmability, it's a really Really great little tool. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up at this point. I was up very late last night, and I can't remember what I wanted to show you guys, and I'm really sorry. There's a lot of really wonderful commercial games here as well that you can purchase. Things like Hunison. So I don't have anything saved on here. So you got to select the color you want, red. Choose that. Anyway, so that's a commercial game available for sale, and that's also available through AmiStore. There's a bunch of others as well, like Maze. That's not going to play very well on here. Anyway, I'll let you all go take a look at the list online and see what you think. I think instead what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and stop this and open it up to questions. Try to get this disaster over with as quickly as possible. Any questions? Excellent. All right. Thank you all very much for sitting through this. I appreciate it.
Pizza and sandwiches have arrived, so go ahead and help yourselves, courtesy of the show. I hope you're enjoying the 20th AmiWest show. Paul Sadleck doing updates on Amiga apps. We have several, and I'm sure it'll be interesting to people who use these things, like myself, and I'm sure you guys. So have at it, Paul. Here we go.
Okay. We good? We've got three things to show today. Three things that have been updated over the course of the last, well, they're being released, soon to be released, or have been worked on over the last few years. The first one that I'm showing is a demonstration of iBrowse 2.5 OS4 PowerPC native. This is something that has been in the works that I've been beta testing probably for about 10 years, and they've been releasing updates to it to us testers pretty much on a continuous basis. And looking at the release notes, there have been literally hundreds of bug fixes and refinements and things to increase already the great reliability of this program for browsing. It still uses a HTML4 engine, so it's not going to be giving you the experience that you would expect to see in Firefox or WebKit or even Odyssey. But the real thing about it is the speed. You know, just to reiterate the speed of it, that's the starting time for the browser. The layout of it is essentially familiar for what most people will remember. You've still got the ability to go and grab, hold, and drag the components of the GUI and all that around. If you want your drag bar, it's hard to do that on this screen. If you want to open up your, change your GUI, you know what? I just hit a bug. Here, hold on. I just hit a bug that has been lurking around with what we've been fighting with for the last few months. And that's pretty good. We thought we had this fixed. That's one for Oliver to look at. So back to iBrowse again. there's a bug that if you drag elements in the interface, every once in a while it'll cause the interface to redraw it, to change the whole thing, and it's just snapped it to the old configuration of my monitor at home. Went off the side of the screen basically. So the interface is generally the same. It's been refined, as I said. One of the features now is that you have a much more sophisticated ability to set up a search. You know, I've got Wikipedia always is the first search because it seems like I'm always going there. And right now I'm on Wi-Fi, so it's not exactly the fastest connection in the world, but you get a little bit of a sense of how much faster this browser is than maybe the old versions that everybody might be used to. And this is running on SAM 440, so it's a 666 megahertz, you know, G3 level computer. It's basically about as slow as a OS4 machine as you can get. It's just 512 meg RAM, 64 meg graphics, and so you know, you put this on a 5000 or something like that, and when you get into sites that have got a lot of JavaScript, the delays that we'll see here in a moment are substantially lower. And you know, as I said, this thing is using an HTML4 engine, and it's the JavaScript engine that was custom written as part of Eyebrows. You know, it's fine, perfect for doing things with you know, our regular Amiga websites. And even with the Wi-Fi, I think it's a nice, fast browser. It's reliable. It's bulletproof. Generally, the only times I've ever had problems with it is when you go to a site that has a lot of heavy JavaScript and you've got to deal with it, get out of it. And it's something that I can leave sitting on my desktop all day long, playing animations or doing something like that, and you know, it doesn't crash the system. It's not like Odyssey where you have a problem that is constantly consuming memory. It won't release, and eventually, if you just leave it sitting there, it's going to kill your system, depending on the website you're on. And you know, you know, you've got multiple tabs you can be opening for things. There's Amiga World. When you get to a newer site, you've got the situation that the HTML5, you basically are going to get a simplified version of the HTML5, but the nice thing about that is it still makes for a fast site, and the content is generally there. You just don't have the delays of getting it render all the advertisings and plant all the trackers and all the rest of it. Depending on the website and how standards compliant and well written it is. I'll do my own self-serving. When we put this website together, we made sure to make it that it was all yeah, those guys, exactly. You know, but the whole website was written to be HTML4 compatible and written and used in any browser, not just Mozilla. So, and you know, so you get a sense for the speed of the thing and all of that. The browser internally, like I said, has had many updates. Obviously, the biggest thing is it's recompiled for OS4, so it's PowerPC native. The graphics are PowerPC native. The engine is PowerPC. The JavaScript, everything. There was at one point even a MorphOS port of it, but the MorphOS, whoever it was who was doing the port of that vanished, so there haven't been any updates for that one in a long time. I know Oliver was looking for people, anybody who would be able to help them with the port to that. So there's going to be a 68K version of the browser as well as the PowerPC version. On OS 4, the browser now uses OS 4 alpha channel as alpha channel support. It supports files over 4 gigabytes if you need to download an ISO. I downloaded an ISO of Linux on this thing, and it just downloaded it, no problems. It actually initially was downloading it fine, just showing the numbers wrong. So it said it was downloading 2 gigabytes, then it started downloading backwards back to 0, then it started downloading to negative 2 gigabytes, then back up to 0, and then it finally finished off somewhere. The download was perfectly fine. The GUI just needed to be tweaked to recognize something bigger. Exactly. And so, you know, classic Amiga programming. It works. It just needed to be tweaked a little bit so it looked right. So, as I said, there's the an improved enhanced searchability. These are just a bunch of search entries that I've put in there, you know, so you could come over here and you'll get a sense for like how it works on, there's YouTube, search for Amiga computer. Again, like I said, it's the HTML5 and all is simplified. The ads are stripped, but you know, there you've got you know, the results. And of course, being an Amiga, you have the benefit of also being able to use plugins and use AREX and things like that. So even on this little 440, there, you know, you can use the YT-REX script to, you know, play videos off of YouTube, you know, and it's all asynchronous, so you can just leave this thing sitting here somewhere in the background. Stick it over there if you have bigger than a 1280 screen and go on your way, you know, searching for, you know, whatever else you want to look for, right? So, you know, this is the benefit. You've got a browser that, you know, if I was trying to configure Firefox on my tablet and I opened up the settings and it was about 15 items, you know, settings settings in iBrowse are, oops, quite voluminous. And if you want to tweak anything, you've got damn near anything you want to, you can set. How it's decoding images, here you set up all the menus, here you have all the fast link buttons, you know, the URL search, you know, all the search things that I have built in there. It now uses AMI SSL4, so it's using the latest encryption. Look, it's Solly's juggler. No. So, you know, it's a real pleasure to use, to leave it there. When you do hit a page and you want to have something opened up in Oddity, you know, again, AREX, run it in Oddity. I've got personally a script set up for Oddity that wipes it clean after every use. So, you know, I right-click on a page that I don't like the way it looks in iBrowse. I can load it in Oddity, and it's a simple thing. But yes, I know. I've tried that too, and it keeps telling me what operating system. Yes. You know, but it's astonishing to me how well the HTML4 browser in iBrowse works on things. You know, it's things are fast. You know, I've still got here Amazon, Amiga computer. Let's see if they have any Amiga computers for sale. You know, again, simplified page. There's C64. There's that book you were looking at, Steve. You won't be able to complete the sale of the thing, but you can go over here and again move it to Oddity. And you saw how fast this page showed up when it came in. Then you get to wait for Oddity to load it. So while that's happening, you know, all the features, the things that are built into this thing, like you have the ability to Stay out of the way. You still have always the ability, as you had always before, you can look at the source code of a page. You can go in and change things in the page. If you're actually on a simpler website, you there we go. That's a nice simple page that I trust the source to. You know, there's the source code to the web page, and you can edit this, and it'll live update everything that's in there behind.
Wait, I'm sorry. You can actually edit the source of page on the website, update, and it renders the altered version.
Within eyebrows, right.
That's pretty cool. Oh, I was thinking about mock-ups and things.
See right there. Hello, AmiWest. Amy something. Fix the typo. I know. There you go. You know, so if you're building a web page, you can actually come up with a web page however you want. You want to go in and tweak it right there in this editor. If you want to use your own editor, you just click the E button, and there you have it in Notepad, the editor I've configured it to work with. So, so highly recommended, guys. I like eyebrows. I love eyebrows. The interface is fabulous. Boy, I wish they had a HTML5 engine. Unfortunately, they are not at this moment intending to work on that, because they would either have to implement somebody else's engine or do a massive amount of work. So, but the idea is to come up with the world's best HTML4 browser for 68K and for PowerPC. And right now, as I understand it, the talk is that should be available in the spring. Obviously, we still have a few bugs to chase down. Little things like, why aren't the little plus signs showing up? I'm not sure about that. And the GUI resizing bug, which we thought we had fixed last Friday. So any questions about eyebrows, first off? Trevor? Sometime in the spring. And I believe it's going to be both for sale and for an update. They still want to have it as a paid product. I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, this is all still. There's essentially Stefan is the owner of this, and Oliver has been the one working on it. So I would suggest you go to keep an eye on their website, Stefan Borstrom, and he's the and then Oliver Roberts is that really has been doing the work on it lately, most of it, but he's really GUI issues and things like Oliver Roberts is also the source data type, so he's implemented the code, a lot of the code from warp data types within eyebrows to optimize the rendering. Dave Fisher used to work on it a lot, another OS4 developer. Haven't seen it. So really, it's all in the hands of Stefan, and Stefan, we believe, is going to put the thing up in the spring. So, this is the debug version. Yeah, well, and I can run the other version, but the other version doesn't support the demo version that I've got, which I assume is the one they'll put up for free on AmiNet, things like that, is limited to only 2 tabs, and it's limited to only 4 search items. So it's kind of inhibits a little bit the ability to show you what what you can do with the thing. So.
You can still control the number of simultaneous threads.
Yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You can.
What do you see as being the optimal setting for?
I got to say I have not messed with it that much, because it always seems to me that's not the bottleneck. Right now the bottleneck is either you have sites that load fast in eyebrows and they're there and they blast in and you're good. At that point, the bottleneck is probably more roadshow than anything else, or maybe data types. When you go to modern sites, the bottleneck is always, always, always JavaScript. You know, you hit JavaScript and eyebrows can just go out and start chewing away for 10, 20 seconds. And it'll pop up a requester and say, there's a script still running. Do you want to let this thing keep going? Oliver and I have been going back and forth on trying to come up with a way to maybe help that situation. That maybe you'll have a way to interrupt the offending JavaScript. You can always, you can also always go into it, and so there's a little icon down here, a little clock that comes up when JavaScript is running, and I keep lobbying, well, make it that's a button, and you can click on that button, and well, there was a fast link button underneath it. I'm not used to running on the smallest screen, sorry. So that you could click on that button to kill the script, but you know, it would be nice to have something. You could send it an AREX message, and sometimes, like I quit the previous version. So, any other questions on eyebrows, guys? Steven. Like for example, I have one AREX macro that, which I'm not even running right now. I have one that will save all the tabs you have in a session in the background. And so you can, that program right there, you can go and say, oh yes, open tabs you had open before. And then that just sits in the background and tracks all the tabs you have open. And if you quit, and then open it back up again. And again, I don't have it set up to, let me run it again. I have to run it manually. It's not running in the background. Oops. Then it will bring back the tabs you had open. Load them all back in transparently. You know, it's up to them if they want to bundle it with eyebrows. If not, then I'll put it out on OS4 Depot. And you know, you'll have that one. You know, there's the commands to open up, for example, let's see here. Can't see the white, but to do the things with YouTube, for example, is really trivial. You could say, I want to play a video on YouTube. You just set up something called autoplay on YTREX. You call the YTREX script. You give it the URL, say silent and autoplay. That's it. And it goes and finds the link and plays the video. If you want to actually see all the videos that are in, if you want to see which videos by size that are on YouTube, come back here. So we just got the search on YouTube for that. If I come over there and right click and I just say open with YTREX, it runs the same script. It doesn't autoplay. What it does is it scans through all the videos that are there. Now you can decide, I want to play a 360 video, 360 at 240. On this little SAM, I wouldn't really dare to play much more than that. And then I have another script, not script, command that says, mPlayer, play this URL. And you do that. There's mPlayer starting. So I'm streaming a video off of YouTube. Yeah, it's like, it's just about as fast and easy way to get something done as can be, and you don't have to deal with the crashes of Oddity. So. Yeah, we can easily do that. Yeah.
Press install, and now I've got all
Okay. Any other questions, guys, on eyebrow? Yeah. If user equals Solly. Okay, so the next thing to show you guys is a program that you guys have seen here if you've been here for the DevCon, and I've showed it in the at the table. Let's see if Odyssey crashes. Will it crash? No. So here's my script for Odyssey. It's like it wipes the directory. It said, clean it out, get all the crap out of there. That's that actually I used on a machine with more than 512K RAM. I copy Odyssey to RAM, sleep RAM, and wipe out all the cookies and all the caches and all the crap, and then it just leaves a nice clean, directory behind. And the next time you do it, it runs RAM. In this case, it's doing it on a hard drive. Yes. It starts faster. It generally doesn't. It runs a little faster because Odyssey tends to dump a lot of stuff to disk. So, and you know, because I don't care about keeping a cache. And as unstable as it is, it's like for just now, I was getting my check-in for the airplane. I get on United, do my check-in, get out of Odyssey, do it as fast as I can, you know. And then I leave eyebrows running all the time, and that's how I look at all the stuff I normally look at. That's why there's this whole list of buttons on the side. That's my that's my regular reading when I have time. I just click my way down through all the buttons and dig and /dot and all of that, and look at dig or OS News and actually, and you'll see here with some of these sites that you see the clock here in the bottom corner. That's the JavaScript running, which on this machine is going to be slower, obviously a little 440 than it is on a 5000. And a 5000 is pretty much instantaneous. There's the little JavaScript clock right there, and it's chewing away. And if it has a problem, it'll tell you, do you want to kill this JavaScript? But there's OS News, and if I have a page that I actually want to see again in Odyssey, just move it into Odyssey, or move it into OWB. So they're all easy to go and open it up in a browser when you need to, and then close it out again, and hope you don't crash. I.e., we really need a replacement for Oddity. So any other questions on eyebrows? Okay, well, as I was saying, the next thing which I was going to show you guys was there's an update here to CodeBench. And again, I'm showing you the beta version, which is the full beta of the full version, not the demo version. Demo version can only show one application, one project at a time. And it's got a few other limitations and timeouts and things like that. The CodeBench, for all of you guys that may not know, is this integrated development environment for the Amiga to try to make it just as modern and easy and support you in doing programming and to build projects and to compile them and to deal with whatever you might be working on and so on. Bar that you use to open projects and things like that. I opened up one of them that was in the recent projects window. These are all the things I've opened in the last week or whatever since I installed this version. Looking at the code, it gives you syntax highlighting and all that. The last version of this that Simon Archer released was 4 years ago here at AmiWest. He released it online. We used it for the DevCon. Since then, he's probably put in, I looked at the release notes files. That was version 42. We're now at version 55. Looking at the release notes, about 1/3 of the release notes, comments, bug fixes, enhancements, all that, 1/3 of them were done since the last release. So this program has gotten a lot of updating. It still, gives you the ability to compile your projects, and there it's running the compiler. Didn't find any errors. it really liked it. Probably should turn the volume down. I know, right? You know, if you do have a problem, then you know, you get. Let's see here. Let's go make a mess of something that like is easy to make a mess of. So you see, there's the syntax highlighting right there. It tells you what the function is, what objects it needs. If that's not good enough for you, you just double click on it, and it gives you the release notes on the command. And you know, he's implemented, as you can see here, code folding. So you can go in and fold, or, you know, if you really want to, come over here and just fold. Oops. Fold everything. Hold on. Folding. Fold all. So it's like, that's the entire program folded up. And there's just that little chunk there, and the main example. It's not that big a program, obviously. This code bench had always supported C, the primary programming language of the Amiga, and since pretty early on, it also supports Hollywood scripting. Simon also added the ability to have AREX projects. So now you can go on in and say, just open up the code bench project, it loads it. You know, all the same highlighting, the same code, all the code folding, and so there's the whole program all folded up. Now you just see the titles of the functions there, right? You actually want to work on that one, then you open that up, and there's that function opened up, you know. This is my mother of diagnostics function. So folding is the big thing, and the addition of AREX as projects are a big thing. One of the really nice things that Simon added is the ability to mix your projects. So it's like, you know, here's a C program that was just a demonstration of how to write an AREX macro. But, you know, it's an AREX macro project, so, you know, obviously there has to be an AREX file. So there's the demo Rex program. He's now got it so that you can have a project, a C project, but it also includes an AREX script. So you can now mix different types of code all within the same project. It's all within this one thing. Here's an AREX program. I believe the languages, I know he definitely supports C, AREX, and the editor handles other types of projects. Python, Perl, CLI, HTML, they're all syntax highlighted and all that. So you could actually have a project that included writing the guide file, doing the HTML, doing everything all within one project, and just open it up and they're all your files. Brian?
Add different types of files, script files, for instance. If I wanted to add a rebel format to this, could I do that?
I don't think you can, because part of that, to do the syntax highlighting, you have to have all the definitions of all the words you want to be highlighting. So it would be so you'd have that information would have to be given to Simon, and he would have to build it into the syntax that the rich text editor gadget recognizes. This is a text gadget here that is very similar to the one that's built into Notepad, which you know, everybody knows Notepad. There's our basic little Notepad, right? In OS4. Simon actually even made something called CodePad, just as a proof of concept to go and see what happens if you actually stick that text editor inside Notepad. It's just a simple little thing that he did just to test the concept of it. So, plug and play in Amiga programming. In addition, he also made it so that when you have a project, you can make sure I'm in the project. When you open up a project, that's your settings for the project. You can control, you know, where it is, where it's kept, how it's debugged, you know, how it gets made, compiled. And then he's now got the ability to have targets, different targets. So you can actually have the project, when it's compiled, into a variety of different applications and different, and I'm sure Steve would be able to speak to much greater detail about how this works and everything, but that you can control this thing so it builds different versions. So you might be able to have a AltiVec version and a non-AltiVec version and a SPE version. All that gets built automatically just by hitting that build button down there and listening to the people clap at you. And in here, you could set up right now, right here. You could say, okay, well, I want to create one here that's going to be an AltiVec, right? Now, granted, that right there is about as much as I know about programming for AltiVec that I can write the name. But there it is. Bro, yes. No, it's here now. If we'll just blow up. He added support for GCC 5, so he's providing more support for newer compilers. He's got it's a you've seen the syntax highlighting and the help, online help. Oh, that one doesn't have it. This is AREX. He hasn't got the AREX online help working yet. I've been harassing him about it. But you saw the online help. Look at that. Bloody hell. Shall we live dangerously? Yeah. Simon. Stephen wants to see it go down in flames. He added spell check. The spell checking, I think, still needs refinement, and he's working on it oh yes, that's right. I don't have it turned on. That's what I was doing before I started. These are all the configurations for the program. The general configurations. It's obviously very configurable. Ye of little faith. Spell checking. Check from here. It warns you of checking source code because, yes. So, I think it basically, it needs, you got to, see, that's the thing, which I got to find out from Simon exactly what to do about training it. But the mechanism is there, machinery, so. Yes, sir.
Oh, no reason.
Oh, okay. I know, there's Are you watching, or is he with you? And so, and there are now unlimited undos and redos and all of that. Why can't we buy? I don't know. Maybe you have to stop him from getting beer until he sells it. Unfortunately, he has a day job and he buys beer with that. I know, right? Yes. I know. Yes. Okay, Simon, if you're listening, sell it. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions? Nope. It is available. It's the demo version of it is available. No, do not save that. The DSI has come back to haunt me. Yes, it has. Yeah, sooner or later. It's like you're just tiptoeing in a minefield now. The demo version is already online on Simon's website. It's the website is codebench.co.uk, and if you go to the downloads page there, it's on there. Should be on there. It is on there, I'm pretty sure. And I think that's where we downloaded it from. So it is available, the demo version. The demo version is limited to one project open at a time, and there's a little timeout at the beginning. I think there may be a couple more things in there that might be limitations, but you got to see what the primary biggest feature of the full version is the ability to open multiple files. Yes, that's my hey, it's just enough to keep them both going in and out parking lot from being able to open my computer. Oh, look, our Wi-Fi is just beautiful here, isn't it? It's just wonderful.
Does the ability to trace back the origin function calls references? So if you're looking at a call to a function, highlight out it.
He has, I believe he does. And that was actually a pretty recent addition to the program that, because I know it shows you it's help as you type, AHYT, is this hinting that is up. And so, yeah, I have the dictionary set to import every single last thing it can. So it takes a little while on this machine. But yes, I mean, it shows you what the definition of the function is.
Right.
And
your own function or this function you've got access to source code that you're building from, and you want to go back to the source of the function, you can do that through your own.
I think, yes, and let's find out, shall we? First, find out what we have for, okay. It's yeah. You can actually turn them on and off, and you can set where the heck is that function called? D. Yeah, I know, but there is a function there, so it's got to be in here somewhere. Oh, wait, there it is, right. No, that's, well, new object's a system source, yeah, so that's as far as you're getting. But you can, I mean, for example, you could come over here and say, see, attributes, and you could go to there. And you could keep bouncing around through those, right, in the documentation, right? Oh, that's what it is. There you go. Voila. And then you've got the, I thought you had a back button. No, that's the jump to line. That's something to add. We need a back button. Get back to where you went from. So.
What I'm using now actually, when you're browsing back, it jumps back to your previous cursor position.
Right.
Within the file. And then
Right.
the previous file.
I know. Right. And it keeps the cursor position saved whenever you save a project, and it keeps the folding saved. It's actually a setting you can configure. Do you want to keep everything folded up and just one function open that you're working on? It'll save it that way, and so on. I mean, there's a ton of settings in this program that allow you to tweak things, and Simon's been fabulous, adopting features that I've asked for and pleaded with him for. And I'm in the release notes being scolded and warned about. It does, but I know there's support for GDB because it's in the. But frankly, I don't know how to use GDB, so I'm like, yes, well, and it does allow you to put debug symbols in the code, so you can actually make a debug version of anything by just checking that box right there. As you see here, it's everything is well hinted, so it gives you a description of what's going on and what it means and so on. And there is in the save, don't save. But anyway, any other questions?
What's the status of the old distcc command, distributed compiling?
I don't know.
I did that. You did that. What's the status of it? That's fine. What do you need for client server access on different boxes? You're doing remote DC. Yeah, but you're doing it from the one machine and then
used it with this? With CodeBench.
They all make fun.
That is a valid question.
Okay.
This thing letting you just drop in, maintain with your own make files, use everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can go in there and it's you have, you've got the make file, make the make file. I mean, for example, in the DevCon, we used, yeah, exactly. And or make your own make file and set it in there.
Just put this CC in front of the file.
Right. And because I know that there are some people, native GCC, VVCC, or specify.
No, you have to be able to edit. There you go.
Yeah.
Put CC in front of the
Right.
you're done.
So, yeah.
What was the deal on the clients, though? I don't remember. I want this to take and compile pieces on my Linux server. And bring it back. Yeah, but I can do something on the Linux server.
You have just CCD.
Right. That's the piece I'm wondering about.
Well, you have to get it for Linux.
Where's that?
I don't know where it is.
Distcc.org.
Install it.
But, and there is a server version for the Amiga.
Package somewhere.
There is a server version for the Amiga.
Doesn't matter. No, whatever platform you want, just install the data.
Yes, where to get the data. I'm wondering. Or where to get the
That's
source
my
of the
business. This CCD, right?
Okay.
No, I did a port to Amiga.
Oh, the daemon?
Well, yeah, there's
Okay.
even for Amiga too.
Okay.
David for
Wasn't your
Amiga.
project? Okay, sorry. It wasn't your project to begin with? No. All right.
Right. So that means you could install this on a bunch of your Amigas and then have them all compiling, yeah. Well, no, Amigas, come on.
It's a proper structure. Your bigger metal is serving the Amiga.
Okay, any other questions, guys? Obviously, we can go over things at the table when I take this back there, so if you want to... Yes, exactly. So if you want to look at it, or obviously eyebrows, and you want to try it, I have it there. Yeah,
So it's of it, the special edition version. That's the one we got.
yes. He literally released the new version and put it online while we were sitting there Thursday morning. So, yes, we tried it out. We loaded your juggler in it, and well, for me, but yes, I'm special. But no, we just downloaded the juggler sample that Steve posted. Literally, open up the archive, point this at it. You can create a new project. You tell it you want to open up a C project, and then you're in that same project settings window. You just say juggler, and then go and point that at the directory where the program is. And what else did we have to set? What's that? Target, yes. Target, juggler, and turn off auto. Hit OK. OK. Build script not found. Oh, it was found. Yeah, well, there's going to be the old build script. Do you want to use the old build script to turn off automation? No, we'll make a new one. So that's the new project. We haven't added a file to it. So we come over here and hit source, this, and then we add all the C files. It's loading all those files in. You see I'm adding it to the list here, project files. Come over here and hit header files. Load all the header files, everything in the .h. Loads all those. I'll save the project, build it. That's it. So that's all it took to run the juggler. You click the run button and hit there. And there's the juggler.
That's the best demo ever.
There you go.
First try.
Yeah, well, we did try it a few times on Thursday, but, you know, I mean, but that's literally anybody who's watching this could do it that fast at home
Well, that's where
with it.
I'll take and create a code bench project for the SDK browser stores that when I just,
You know, it's, I mean, I think it's
I've got my own make files to build everything.
as one who's been trying to learn C in very slow and halting fashion, and one who hacks on AREX quite a bit, this is just a wonderful thing to work with. So the last thing I had to show guys was, now we get to see the fun things about, ooh, the window closed. I know, exactly. Yeah, I know, right? There's something that the juggler program uses the most ancient calls to intuition to open the window, and it doesn't clean up after itself when it closes. So you end up with this ghost of the juggler still on your desktop until you open a window and drag it around on top of it to make the thing go away. Yeah. So the last program is this new version of Amiga A Organizer by Andy Brode. And so it's a calendar program. It's a program called Diary. And it's something I've been beta testing with Andy all year long. And the new feature that he added to this program is the ability to sync with Google and to import and export VCal files or ICS files. And so, you know, I just have it set up under a command. Left shift Amiga D, and you get the calendar program, and it's running all the time. And you know, here's your this week. Here's all my AmiWest stuff and my flight information, and you double click on something, and it gives you the information what I've set into that appointment for what's going on, and my flight here to California. You've got month view. As you can see, I've been using this program a good bit these days, so it's, you know, and then you double click on something to add a, here, double click on the date to add an event, and so you can come over here and say, okay, what day are we on here? Set an end time. You can set alarms, you know, if you want to have an alarm that goes off, sound, place sound, or a notified, leave it at notified. Create the event. So on Thursday the 19th, I set up an event to go hack Amiga hacking. And if I get on my phone, and the beauty of this thing, the invaluable thing here is there was that little hit of CPU load that you see going by right there. On this little 440, there's a set of Python scripts that Andy wrote that basically connect to Google, automatically upload the sync of the event. So if I go to my calendar here on the, so if I go to my calendar here, it's not there yet, but I come over here and hit sync now. And there it is. Oh, wait, no, there it is, right there. That second column, right, the Amiga hacking. And then so I can come in here on my AmiWest hacking, and if I come in here, for example, and say, trash the event, delete, it's deleted off my phone. Come back over here to my Amiga. And either you can let it sit there and just sync it does it once every minute or whatever you set it to. But for the sake of our purposes, I'll tell it to sync right now. You see that little hit on the CPU right here. There's AmiWest hacking. Go away, go away. Oh wait, I do have to force my phone to sync, you're right. Sync now, there we go. Exactly, so that's synced. There we go. Do this again. Sync diary. AmiWest hacking. Gone. You know, and I've been using this a lot for things these days, and it's like you can go in here and you know, I know I've got work meetings and things like that. You know, if you import VCAL file, like for example, if I go to my Shell account, where all my email stuff is, I know I had gotten an there it is, Brian James, and he, there are scripts there for exporting events, importing events, searching the diary. This case, I just downloaded this that I got from this was an event that I got in an email from somebody at, I don't know, contractor or the county, Fairfax County, I believe it is. So there's the event. It's telling you, you're going to see the event first, either import, take it or not. So there's everything that was imported from that email, that VCAL or ICS file. This is all the text that he had in the file. Customer Advisory Council, October 31st. There's the 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock Eastern Time Zone. Keep the event, and there it is. And double click on it. The location is there. All of that. Now, so I just imported it into this program. You see the hit right here that happened on the CPU. Automatically, when you created the event, uploaded it here to Google, and I tell my phone to sync for it. And there it is. The event, all the text that was in that event is now on my phone. Fantastic application. Wonderful that this thing exists. So, Andy he put in a huge AREX port in this thing. So obviously that AREX port is I don't think he understands what you can come in, Luca. Quietly. The AREX, you know, the scripts here are the ones provided to export a calendar event, you know. If you want to, you can come over here and say, okay, export, and, you know, event.vc, there. And then you could, I have not tried this yet, I have to say, but, you know, there's the export file. I have not tried actually attaching it to an email and sending somebody with Outlook and having them import it automatically yet. I really just don't care enough about Outlook users, so, okay. So, and Andy has his program. It's for sale. It's on Amy Store. I think it was like $10 or something like that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's on the Amy Store.
It is, yes.
But I got a little, we had a little blurb about this last year. That the reason he did it was to do skates, blues musicians.
Yes.
And he used Python because that's the API that was easy to talk to.
Right.
It's not he wanted to. It's just
Oh, he wanted to.
their API is so.
Yeah, I mean, the API, when I set this up, installing this program is trivial. It's so easy. And it's got dependencies on ProAction, because ProAction provides them with a GUI for some of the things he does. And it relies on some Python classes and things like that. The installer literally checks your system if those three things are there. And it says, yes, you've got it, you're good. Or if you don't, then it goes and gets them and installs them. I mean, literally the installation's done in 15 seconds. Syncing Amiga Organizer, Organizer, to Google was an exercise where you go into, there's a script he's got that initiates this connection, that initial connection. What happens is you run the script, you type in your information on your Google account, and then it then gives you a hash code. No, actually, let me think about this. It gives you a URL You open that up in Odyssey, and you're connected to Google. You log into Google there, and then you come to a page that gives you a hash code. You copy that hash code out, paste it in here, hit OK, done. From there on out, Google is synced to to Amiga, to AO Organizer, and from there on out, that syncing occurs. And we've been testing this, like I said, pretty much most of the year, going through different, there were little things like when you have this text that you get from somebody, you didn't, sometimes somebody can stick something in here that caused problems. We found out that brackets or something caused a problem, and we had to fix it. It didn't get parsed correctly. And Andy is a very proactive developer, so he's been, chasing down bugs and releasing new versions of this thing on an ongoing basis, usually pretty much with pretty quick turnaround on everything. So, any questions on this? Well, it uses a technology. So here's the About window and View Documentation. Okay, we will use eyebrows because eyebrows rules. So the technology that it uses, and I thought he had it listed in here, is CalDave. So a number of servers use that protocol for interaction, for scheduling appointment type stuff. Neither he nor I have tried it on one of the other services that use that, but if it does, and you can manage to get that this program talk to the server, it should work the same way as it just did with that. But I can't say I know which services those are. That, or you can always, offer Andy a pile of money and documentation and let him do plugin, because I know he loves doing things like that. And he's going to hunt me down and kill me now. Oh, what? Did you get the kill order? Any other questions? And like I said, I have this obviously on the computer. You guys can try it out at the table there. Okay? Great. Well, thank you very much, guys. Next year we'll have new stuff.
By explaining a little bit what I've been doing. Essentially, I found that we didn't have enough serial ports on the Amiga because I like to connect things to the Amiga, various hardware devices. And my original intention was to get voice command working again, because I love to use voice command. It's like Star Trek: computer, turn the lights on, turn the music on, anything. But the old 68K voice shell program doesn't know anything about AHI, so and I don't know assembly, so I couldn't actually update it to use AHI input. So I was looking for an alternative, and what I did is I found that there was some hardware that could plug into the serial port and do voice recognition, and basically just spit out whatever word was said. But then I already used my serial ports for my extend system and for debugging, and only have two on the Amiga XC and the X1000. So I basically first decided I need more serial ports. What happens if I plug a PCI serial card, but then nothing happened because the OS didn't know anything about it. So I ended up basically adding support for more serial ports by making the serial device automatically recognize any PCI or PCI Express serial card. And some have 2 ports, some have 4 ports, 8 ports, even 16 ports. And the driver hopefully just automatically recognizes all of them and just adds more serial units. So now we can have serial unit 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And it's completely transparent. You just access it normally. So that's what I did first, is basically add support for more serial ports. And then the one thing I found is all these little devices are usually used on Arduino. So an Arduino is basically, it's like a little microcontroller. I should probably remove that sensor shield. So they're little microcontrollers that are extremely cheap. Like the clones are about $10. The original ones are maybe $20. They're kind of like a really old 8-bit computer, but they're new, and they have lots of pins, so you can plug things into them and either control the pins or read from the pins, so you can connect sensors. And I found that for a lot of these little devices, you can't just plug them into the serial port. You need to process the information that comes from them, or they use different protocols. So then I started playing with these things and figuring out how I can connect it to my serial port. And I found that on the Arduino, there's an IDE, but it doesn't, you can't compile our Arduino code on the Amiga. And I wanted everything to work on the Amiga without needing a PC or a Mac. And so what I found, there was a scripting program that you can upload on the Arduino that now gives you access to all the pins, and you can create little scripts and use variables. It's called a bitlash. Let me show you. Okay, so I have one Arduino connected into the serial port, and basically I use Termi as a terminal right now, but bitlash provides like a regular serial interface. In this case, at 115,000 baud, and so you can just type commands. And that lets you basically read or write to any of the pins on the Arduinos. Here I have a very simple example that's ready. For example, I have a red LED that's hooked up to this little Arduino here. And all I have to do is type D3 equals 1, and it will turn it on. So the same principle applies to any device that takes a digital I/O, which is on or off, basically. And then likewise for sensors, like here I have a little button, and if I hold the button down, it's reversed. So when the button is on, pressed down, it's 0. When it's let off, it's 1. So right now, if I print D2, it should say 0. No, 1 because it's off. And if I hold the button down, it will say 0. So that just simply illustrates that you can read and write values to those pins. And some of the Arduinos are a bit more powerful than the original one. Like this one is the Arduino Mega, and it has roughly like 52 digital input-outputs that can be used, and 16 analog ones that can be used to read analog sensors like a light sensor or temperature sensor. And so basically all these sensors could be connected to this one and processed through a single serial port. So you could potentially like put a dozen of these on the Amiga and have thousands of sensors. So I don't have that many sensors to try, but I will try to max it out at some point to see how far I can push it. But so yeah, basically that's the how I interface the Arduino with the Amiga and still keep it fairly simple where you can just interact. So my next step, which isn't ready yet, is I'm going to write a serial, or finish writing a serial interface, which makes it a lot easier to interact with the Arduino by allowing you to listen to incoming values and basically launch a program if a specific sensor is reported as being activated, and the other way around, allowing maybe through AREX to trigger any of the pins so that other programs can also but some of the, for me, the main focus still is to get the voice command working. So my goal too is to make a program that is dedicated to voice commands and just goes directly into the serial port. So the one thing that is a bit different between the Arduino stuff and the typical serial port stuff is all the Arduino components either work on 3.3 volts or 5 volts. Most of the little sensors, they work on 5 volts. But the Amiga on the serial port outputs somewhere between 12 and 18 volts because that's kind of a standard for RS-232. So you need a little converter. It's called a RS-232 to TTL converter. And what this does is it basically copies all the ones and zeros, but drops the voltage down to 5 volts. So you basically have to put that between the Arduino or any device you would plug in directly to take the voltage down. But these are fairly cheap. I got a bunch of them. They were like $3 a piece if you assemble them yourself. And there's some even smaller versions. But this is really handy to have. Some have a built-in power input, so you can either power it through USB or through an adapter. And there's another option, is to actually pull the power from the PCI serial card and basically wire the ring pin into the power input of the little thing. And then this thing can also power the Arduino, so you don't really need a second power source for the Arduino. It will pull its power out of the power pin here. But that's pretty much the gist of it. And the possibilities are really incredible because for the Arduino, they make countless sensors. They're mostly really cheap, like $1, $2 each. And then you can control displays. Like I have, well, this one I'm going to try to build it into the case, but it basically just displays. I guess I can plug it in. Let's see if that works. No. And it's, oh yeah, the power. Okay, so this one is just a matrix, LED matrix display. And I put a program into that Arduino which basically drives the matrix. This is a bit too complicated to drive from BitLash because you can't just set pins on and off. It uses a serial SPI, I think, communication protocol. So it takes a bit more work to both have BitLash and still drive this using the library that came with that little thing. But then you should be able to basically send any text. Sometimes it doesn't work. Usually when you try to show it. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, for some reason it's not working now, but it would normally display anything that you send to it, so it could be used as a clock, or it could monitor the CPU temperature or whatever. So that's one thing, and then you can use all these little LCD panels, 2 lines, 4 lines, some are backlit, and you can control the light color. Here there's an example of like a box with like, I don't know, 37 sensors. And the whole thing was about $20, so it's less than $1 per sensor. Some are just relays, controllers, but basically it opens a whole world of like maker electronic to the Amiga, because it makes it so simple to interface everything, and there's absolutely no risk of frying the Amiga side of things because of the way the serial and everything is isolated from the actual mod on the Amiga. So it's a little bit safer than playing with the internal port or the on some of the NG machines they actually have I2C pins on the motherboard, but it's a bit risky to mess with that directly, so it's a bit safer to just go through like some other device. That's basically it. Anybody has any questions?
Have you looked at trying to support
No, because that will require writing a USB driver, and I don't know how to do that. At least not yet.
Can you repeat the question?
So the question was if I'm able to support a USB to serial adapter. Like this is an example of a USB to serial adapter to basically provide serial ports through the USB. But I just don't know how to code USB, like anything that uses USB. So I'm not really able to do that. At least not yet. I might still learn it one day and do it. But
That's an alternative way of getting more ports.
yeah. Yeah, especially on machines like the A1222, where there's only one slot, which you kind of need if you want a video card. So yeah, there it might be useful, but Rene is far more able at USB than I am. But yeah, so basically, for now, at least we have PCI, so you can put lots of serial ports through PCI. Any other question? All right. Well, thank you.
Hi guys. Today we're going to be talking about Alice, what it is, what it isn't, how it actually works, what it looks like. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Alex Perez. I've been manufacturing and selling SCSI SD adapters for the last few years now. So you might have bought one from me at some point in the past. We've had a few other projects going on in the background. Of course, this is one of them. It's been an entire year since our last AmiWest where this was discussed, and we're happy to announce that we think we have really polished product now. One of the things that happened in the last year is we've changed the baseline hardware specifications to be 7th generation Intel Core processors. We have one at the entry level, an i3. We have an i5 that's a nice compact machine with a 12-inch screen, and we're working on identifying an i7. We also have an i5-based desktop that's fits in the palm of your hand job that is quite lovely. In addition to the 7th generation hardware, the big change is 1080p is now the standard resolution. We will not sell any Alice laptop that is not full HD. Ken's in the driver's seat, and he's done all of the heavy lifting today, so shout out to him. Right now we're booted into the classic environment, and Ken's going to just poke around a bit for us to see what we've got. This is actually running WinUAE on top of Linux. And despite that, it's quite speedy. What we've got here is Rabbit Hole. We've got Firefox open, and we're running Firefox on top of the classic environment here in the background. The Wi-Fi here in the in the conference room is a little dodgy right now. I think everyone's come home for the day and is watching YouTube, but it worked great earlier. So we've got Ken's background artwork, obviously. We've got the OS4 similar looking theming, and as you can see, here's LibreOffice. All of this comes standard installed, and by default, unless you request otherwise, your Alice laptop will come in a tri-boot configuration with a classic environment on top of Linux, an OS4 environment on top of Linux and Windows. And based on polling data that we took in a survey back in late February, we know that roughly a third of our potential customer base has no interest in Windows. A third doesn't seem to really care either way, and a third absolutely must have Windows. So we have to accommodate all of that, which creates some logistical issues for us, but it's nothing that can't be worked through. In terms of what we're doing for the initial release of this, obviously the very first machines that have been sold here this weekend. I've got another batch of them on the way to my place, and those are going to go out and be prepped later this week. So what I would encourage everyone to do who's interested in buying is follow us on Facebook. And if you just search Amiga Alice on Facebook, you'll find us. All of our updates will be delivered there, and we may be making forum posts as well in response to questions about the platform. From a technical perspective, at the end of the day, this is a highly customized Ubuntu Mate kernel installation with a slightly newer kernel to accommodate the fact that the Wi-Fi modules that ship with most 7th generation laptops are slightly newer than what the previous version of Ubuntu, which was 16.04, supports. Have you clicked on the start menu yet, the AmiKit X menu? Yeah. So you can see what this comes with. It comes with a variety of well-known pieces of software. Everything that if you've ever used AmiKit before, it's everything you come to expect out of AmiKit, pre-bundled, pre-installed. And of course, because it's UAE, if you press F12, the F12, you get your standard WinUAE properties, and you can do things like mount ADFs, that kind of stuff. Everything you can normally do within any WinUAE environment, you can do here as well. In addition to the classic environment that we're showing now, we have an OS4 environment, which comes, just to be clear, let me back up. All AmiKit sales come with the following, in addition to the hardware. They come with OS4 Classic Edition, a license for that, a license for Enhancer Special Edition, a license for Amiga Forever, and a pre-installed AmiKit X install, which has been worked on hard by Jan over the last several years in conjunction with Ken. So all of those things, all of that work is rolled up into this package, and in addition to the base hardware configuration, every AmiKit laptop that we touch and create has at least a 256 gig SSD out of the box. So we replace the factory default slow rotational hard drives that come with these machines. It creates a far better experience. It creates far better boot times, and it really does go a long way to making things feel snappy. The cost of 256 gig SSDs is such now that they're really not, they're basically the smallest SSD you can buy in volume, and they're not terribly expensive anymore. So the other thing that comes with every AmiKit install is a recovery USB fob, and that fob allows you to completely re-image the machine if something catastrophic happens to it. So with inserting the USB key, pressing F12 when you power the machine on, you can boot into an environment that has a pre-configured Clonezilla restore system that rewrites to the destination SSD, which makes anything you might possibly do as you're learning Linux or fiddling with Windows, or whether Windows itself chooses to nuke your machine, assuming you have it installed, you have an easy way to get back to square one. So we're rebooting into OS4 right now, and unfortunately the output from the bootloader doesn't show on the screen. We'll show you that later directly on camera. So the Linux kernel just loaded there, and now WinUAE is firing up, and the emulated PowerPC subsystem is getting going here. This particular demo is happening on an Acer Aspire E5-575, which is has an i3 7200U. It's on the label.
7100.
7100U, and it has, as configured from the factory, it has 4 gigs of RAM. Anyone who wants more RAM than the standard amount can just simply request it, and it will be accommodated. We can accommodate up to 16 gigs of RAM with very little effort, and if you want 32, it's possible to do, although on an i3 machine I probably would never consider it personally. So here we have OS 4. Anyone who has used OS 4 before is familiar with a lot of the programs that come along with it. Ken's going to fire up and take us to Amiga World, and depending on how the Wi-Fi is failing at the moment, we may or may not actually see it. But there we go. So, yeah, this is also again running under WinUAE. So the same two hotkeys that you have in both of the Linux-based Alice environments apply. You have F12 just brings up the WinUAE settings, and F11 brings up the Linux Ubuntu Mate menu. And you can either iterate through with your cursor or simply type ahead for the application you're looking for, much as you would on any standard Ubuntu Mate installation. So again, we have Firefox running on top. This is Looking Glass, if you will, and hey, look, it's AmiWest 2017 live stream subject. So in the next couple of months, we're planning on ramping up sales outside of North America. From a logistical perspective, as we get our feet wet, you know, I live 2 hours from Sacramento here in San Jose, and it makes sense to for us to have an intimate relationship with the first few sales, which we now have, and I expect to have several more this week, probably more than I can accommodate easily, in fact. So every environment that's prepared, you know, is hand touched. Bill, can you throw the camera on the red laptop at some point in the next few minutes, just so that the i3 laptop has an optional red clamshell, which Trevor is a big fan of, needless to say, and we are not making you buy that because it's not everyone's cup of tea, but for those who like the protection that it comes with, it comes standard. If you don't want it, it saves you $20 ish, and it's a nice addition, and you know, a nice addition to the kind of theming of Alice. The laptop itself, the i3 laptop, the entry-level machine, we've been selling today here at the show for $600. I anticipate continuing that for the time being, and prices may vary because, frankly, we buy in small batches of machines, and as market prices fluctuate slightly, we will adjust our sale price to reflect the same profit margin, which is quite thin, as Ken alluded to in a previous talk. We're not doing this to get rich. And Ken has, I think, to date not made a nickel off of any of this effort, so certainly not in it for the big bucks. What else do we want to talk about in OS 4? Anything anyone wants to see? That's a fantastic question, and I do not know the answer.
All right.
I think that you can, because I'm at least I have a pretty strong Linux background. You know, copy paste is a pretty fundamental thing that I know has worked with Wine for years. So I wouldn't see any reason why, assuming the copy paste you do in Wine works. If we try it and it doesn't work, then we know our answer. But regardless, there is a mechanism, as you see the extra drives there. WinDHC is the C drive, which is actually your Linux drive, and that's the portal through which you can transfer large files that you may have downloaded on the Linux side, or files, frankly, that you want to get out of your virtualized classic environments. So fingers crossed. Nope, doesn't work. Okay, so that's possibly something we can think about adding in the future.
I think it actually works on the
Classic
kit side and the classic side. Yeah,
That
just
wouldn't
an OS
surprise
4
me.
limitation.
Got it. So we can try that and report back on our website and Facebook page. But it's certainly something. A lot of those little types of features can be improved upon. Can you fire up the updater? We've got IMPDF here opening up one of the documentation.
Which, hold on.
That's just the Amigo S4. release notes, the enhancer updater.
Oh, the enhancer updater.
We're not logged in with enhancer right now, so we won't. Well, Trevor might have actually logged himself in. This is his demo machine, which was sold earlier during the show.
No, he
So
did
yeah,
not.
so AmiSphere comes.
What's your account information? You want us to look at?
Nice try. I'm sure he's bought everything on there.
Sure.
So yeah, the AMI update can sit here once you're logged in and snarf down all of the update information, which just allows you to purchase the items that are in the AMI store, as well as use the free items that are there. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good basic overview. Does anyone have any questions about the OS4 specific environment while we're in it? It's not any different than you might be used to seeing OS4 running under WinUAE. Yes?
Is there any known limitations to the OS4 side at this point?
There certainly are. Big improvements have been made on the OS4 side since last year that have nothing to do with us. It's just WinUAE improvements that, frankly, we benefit from and are thankful for. The big one is a native graphics driver, which frees us from some of the resolution limitations associated with Picasso 96. It's also hugely more performant, frankly, and that's always nice. One of the other things that has been improved upon is you were talking about these earlier. We've got on the WinUAE side in the last year, we've got the memory limitation. So in conjunction with some work done by Hyperion, we've got a far greater usable amount of RAM. I believe it's 768 megs.
Something like that, yeah.
Within the OS4 environment. What's that?
894.
894, fantastic. That really makes things, gives it quite a lot more breathing room. And then in addition to that, like we were talking about earlier, Tony just continues to add ridiculous features to WinUAE, and he does it because he loves to. So we thank him for the work, and frankly, we wouldn't have been able to make Alice as performant without him, because while we were previously using FSUAE on the Linux side, we decided that WinUAE has really come to maturity and is a comparable or better choice, even on top of Linux, which is bizarre when you initially realize what's happening, but quite nice. So that's all we really wanted to touch upon. I think we want to show you also the boot menu, so you see it from start to finish, and have an idea of the boot time for both OS4 and Classic. Yes. One more question. Yes.
Is there a size limitation on the RAM disk?
That's a good question. Do you know? Size limitation on the RAM disk within OS4 or Classic? I'd imagine there are different limitations depending on the environment.
Well, basically, what we're seeing now is what I'm getting at OS4 basically. The chip emulation.
Right. It's whatever the version of WinUAE we're using, which Ken would probably know off the top of his head.
It's the current
Release.
It's the current release.
3.5. 2017 6.15.
Yeah, there's some betas released.
Yeah, whatever this supports is what the max is. Does that? I know that's a weaselly answer, but
That's fine. I wasn't expecting an exact answer.
yeah, sure.
I just figured that you'd have some idea that, yeah, you could make a pretty good sized RAM disk.
I'd imagine you could make a very good sized RAM disk. Several hundred megabytes at least. Although, frankly, you don't necessarily need to do that because the disk underneath is an SSD. It doesn't buy you the same increase in performance as it would have in a traditional environment.
Performance isn't what I'm looking for.
Okay,
The RAM, putting stuff in RAM just makes a lot of things easier.
got it. Yeah, and the base SSD size is 256. I should have gone into this earlier, as I mentioned. But we're happy to accommodate people who would like a larger SSD. The i5 hardware configuration we're using today comes with a 500 plus gig SSD. Some of them are, there's kind of some variance in exactly how much you get in SSD land with a 500, but they're all at least 512 gigs. This particular i3 machine has a USB-C port, which is kind of neat. It's got a couple of USB 3 ports and a full-size SD card slot in terms of hardware bells and whistles. Okay, so you're gonna take it to the grub menu, interrupt it so that we can see it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ken. This weekend has been totally insane, and Ken has done an amazing job with the heavy lifting, and I don't honestly think I could have done it without him. So hopefully he's always there for me. But I will be processing all orders and fulfilling them under the name of inertial computing for the time being. And as we branch out to Europe and other continents, we may utilize partners to distribute and drop ship products for us that are warehoused by them. And we're working on establishing exactly how that's going to work, which is part of why we're focused on North America right now, because we can distribute easily within NAFTA countries for the foreseeable future. All right, so we're at this is the refined menu, the EFI bootloader menu, and you've got your default of Windows.
No, it defaults to the last.
Sorry, the default's to the last one, which is OS 4. You've got the AmiKit, and you've got Windows. And there's a little label below here that you can barely see right now that shows you that. So we're gonna pick AmiKit, and we're gonna kick it off. And of course, once we're in Linux, which happens within, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 seconds, something like that, boom, now it's on the projector, and we see the same thing both places. So the full end-to-end boot is pretty quick. It's happening right now. There's the environment, and we'll go ahead and restart and show the same deal with OS 4 effectively, so you get an idea of the boot speed. As we continue to talk about models, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to the desktop variant, which I personally really like. It's a Gigabyte Bricks. It's an iFi based system, and it's got onboard Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It can drive dual monitors. It's a really nice machine, and it comes with a 512 gig SSD standard. The beautiful thing about it is, if you travel and you don't want to, you already carry a laptop, but you want to take your environment with you, it's super tiny. It fits in the palm of your hand, and you can hook it up to a TV if it does 1080p. You can really you can pair it with any Bluetooth device within Linux, and then those devices will be usable within your classic environments. So we've got OS 4 booted. There's the background, and there's Firefox up. All right. So as you can see, it's pretty quick, and if you're considering buying one, we encourage you to follow us on Facebook, which will probably be the primary way. For those of you who don't use Facebook, if you have not already filled out our survey, which we circulated back at the end of February earlier this year, if you go to our Facebook page, you don't need to be on Facebook to fill the survey out. There's a link to it. We do ask some questions about some of your preferences, and as we go on fulfilling the first few orders, we may make some adjustments to the hardware depending on exactly what people continue to indicate that they want. Effectively, what we're doing is a just-in-time based order delivery system. We'll always have a handful, single digit, of machines on hand, and they'll be prepped and shipped within a week, generally speaking. So the system will evolve over time, as I indicated earlier, but I think that it's a good one for now, and if we have significant demand, we may need to reevaluate the way we're going about preparing the machines, but for the time being, what we have works. So if you're considered buying one, you can email me directly at aperez, APEREZ, at inertial, INERTIAL.biz. You can ask questions to me directly there. But if you do use Facebook, we encourage you to do it there, simply because it allows other people to see and see the questions, ask other questions, etc. Anything you want to add?
No, you did a great job.
Great. Okay. Well, I guess we're done. Yes. Question. That is an excellent question. I believe it is Alice, facebook.com/Alice Laptop, but don't quote me on it. We'll test it. It's been around for really since the last several weeks after the last AmiWest, as we were developing our presence. And if you just go to Facebook and search Alice Laptop, you'll find.
Also, facebook.com/AmiKit.
Yeah, so it's just Alice Laptop, facebook.com/Alice Laptop. The AmiKit page may link to us, but that is a separate project, and they do sell their environment directly to end users. So I would encourage people, if you're interested in just AmiKit, Jan's work is great. If you're interested in an integrated environment like what we've created, you can just go to facebook.com/Alice Laptop and click through to shop and ask us questions. All right, is that it? We good? I don't know where Bill went. Thank you.
Well, that's our last presentation for AmiWest.